Metalner is a monster in Monster Rancher 2. Metalner is a silly little guy, and like most silly little guys, he has latent potential that's easy to miss on first glance. If that wasn't the case, they wouldn't be letting you hit just because you're goofy. Metalner's stat gains are abysmal, and without any real game knowledge, he's gonna feel extremely weak. This guy thought so. Can't really blame him, I guess. His job is to make bad articles as quickly as possible to maximize SEO, so mission accomplished, I suppose. The future's so sick, man. I love living in this world. Metalner is the exact opposite of Mochi, who has incredible starting stats and great stat growths. Mochi feels very powerful early on due to his ability to just outmuscle the opponent and sort of serves as a tutorial monster because of this. And Metalner cannot be further from that. Mochi also infamously has unbelievably weak techniques, among the absolute worst in the game, and while this sort of balances out in a single player type of gameplay where you can make up for it with high stats, in competitive play where monsters all have the same stat totals, that singular advantage disappears. So on the inverse, Metalner has a slew of unbelievably powerful techniques. Arguably, he's the proud holder of 3 of the top 5 techniques in the game. Additionally, he has the fastest guts regen in the game, meaning he gets way more chances to attack, and is basically immune to withering. Faster guts rate monsters inherently see penalties to their accuracy, damage, defense, and evasion, but it's rarely enough to impede them unless you're like Pixie or Ghost or Hopper. And even then, those monsters tend to struggle because of their weak technique strength and not necessarily the guts regen. Metalner is almost always banned in competitive play. It's a phenomenally powerful monster that loses 0 matchups. It's easily the best monster in the entire game, to the point where even Tecmo eventually banned him from their official tournaments too. Metalner is also one of the few monsters who can put together an entire build with critical hits in mind. Tiger, Mew, Niton are really the only other monsters who can do this reliably, so it's a very rare trait to have in Monster Rancher 2. Other than his basics, every move in his kit has at least 35% critical hit rate with the bad-natured stress bonus. Did he need this? Probably not, but the rich do be getting richer. Metalner's basic attacks are not good, but that's really common for mons with fast guts rates. Left slap is horrendously weak damage-wise with 7 force, but it's got a really quick animation and it does a pretty good chunk of withering. You don't really want to see left slap too much, but it can lock out an opponent pretty easily, especially if Metalner has anger active. Right slap is also horrendously weak. It can still wither and it's got sharpness, which is rare for a basic tech, but that animation time is abysmal. When his attacks are animating, he's not building guts, which is an opportunity cost scenario that is all the more important when considering that guts rate is Metalner's biggest advantage. A round with no right slaps is a good round, though that extremely long animation time can also just run down the clock if you're ahead. Luckily, you get to cover up right slap with straight, which is, depending on who you ask, either the best or second best technique in the entire game. This is an atrociously overtuned tech that would still be good on a monster with a guts rate twice as slow as Metalner. The withering, the accuracy, the damage, and the low cost and animation time all blend together to become a profoundly difficult tool to maneuver around for every monster in the game. Every Metalner build grabs this, to the point where it's gimmicky not to. Dash straight is arguably not as good pound for pound, it's not nearly as efficient, but sometimes attacking once is better than attacking twice, and in scenarios like that, dash straight finds its home. Still a brutally powerful move on a 6 guts rate monster, it's just not like literally the best move in the game. Almost every monster would love to be able to use dash straight. Elbow strike is basically dash straight except worse. This is kind of the power level of tech you'd expect from a monster like Metalner if the goal was a focus on balance. It's very expensive for what it does, but it is in line with what a monster that builds 30 guts in 5 seconds can take advantage of. Double palms, on the other hand, is really just not very good at all. It's kind of like a Pixie level heavy tech. The damage is low, the accuracy is horrendous. You can just spend an extra 7 guts on dash straight and you're rewarded with an additional 23% chance to hit on what is a nearly identical move otherwise. It's baffling to see these two moves side by side. I don't know what's going on here. Let's move on. The UFO attack is Metalner's most damaging attack. It's the cheapest S-Force tech in the entire game, with every other tech tying it being something with heavy recoil attached to it. It's also often the most inaccurate attack in the entire game. A small handful of techs have a hit chance below -22, but they're on monsters with exceedingly slow guts regen, which allows that number to come up a little. The -22 hit means that against a monster with the same guts regen and the same bank guts, with equal skill to the opponent's speed, the tech will have 28% chance to hit. So imagine 2 Metalners fighting at round start with max stats, they have 28% chance to hit. Versus Dragon, who has a guts rate slower than 3 times that of Metalner, it drops to 22% at round start. And then if you were to swing it at 30 guts versus a dragon with 99, you'd end up with 11% chance to hit. And additionally, a crazy 45% chance to crit really makes this a tech you swing because it's funny and game-winning when it lands. Metalner doesn't really need it versus tanks, but obviously it makes things easier. Palm Strike is another bizarrely weak tech. There's a lot of Withering here, but Metalner is so much more well positioned to get his Withering via the straights and left slap, that is, while actually advancing the game state, than by focusing on Withering explicitly. The goal here is to do damage and some Withering, not Withering and some damage. High Kick is a little wonky and really relies on that crit chance to function. It's not legitimately bad like Palm Strike and Double Palms, but it's kinda nondescript otherwise. There's not a lot going on here. Double Kicks is a pretty noticeable upgrade, pumping the damage and hitting a 50-50 crit rate with the Bad Natured Stress bonus. This ends up falling somewhere in the middle of the pack with his techs, below Dash Straight, but above most of the moves we've talked about so far. It also helps cover up Right Slap, so, you know, bonus. Back Charge is Metalner's final sharp tech, and it hits an astronomical 55% crit chance with the Bad Nature bonus, tying Tiger's Blizzard and Nighton's Million Whips for highest critical hit rate in the entire game. But it costs less than both of those techs, and it does more Withering than both of those, on Metalner's Guts rate. Metalner. Back Charge is nuts! This is the other tech that can boast being the best in the game along with Straight. Both of these techs are good versus all monsters, but Straight is a tiny bit better versus speed monsters, and Back Charge is a tiny bit better versus tanks. My personal take is that Back Charge deserves the #1 spot. It's just fundamentally stronger than any other option in the game. And to end on a low note, we can talk about Metalner's special techs, I guess. Burning Palm it's legitimately good, it's just a bad opportunity cost from Metalner. 50 guts is not a big deal to throw away, but when you could just be playing a smaller game of attrition to higher success with Straight or Back Charge, or even being a true maniac and just swinging UFO attack every turn, Burning Palms ends up being a bit lackluster. And it's not, which is the crazy thing. It's just not Straight or Back Charge or UFO attack. And Metalner Ray is also like legit strong, but it has two major problems on Metalner's kit specifically. First, it's Withering focused, and just like with Palm Strike, you're going to be Withering a lot with his other attacks already, so you don't need to focus so heavily on it at the cost of accuracy and damage. And second, it's his lone intelligence attack. In competitive play, this ends up being a non-starter in almost every scenario because he's got nothing else on the intelligence side to back it up. It only works in mixed attacker formats, but it looks sick though. The main Metalner build gets Straight and Back Charge, and then sometimes Dash Straight, sometimes UFO attack, sometimes Burning Palms, and sometimes Double Kicks, in order of descending frequency. The problem is that his two best attacks are just so absurd that everything else pales in comparison. All four of these other techs are great and would see tons of play on other monsters, but Metalner is spoiled for choice, and sometimes decides to run none of them. There are 4 Metalner main breeds: Metalner, Metazoral, Loveseeker, and Shinhwa. All have a 6 guts rate except for Metazoral, and Shinhwa can't get grit. So for competitive play, you'll see, well, none of them. They're all banned. Even without grit and a pitiful 9 guts rate, you're not seeing them used. Unless you tune into this year's Deluxe Cup. On April 6th, I'll be hosting the 5th annual Deluxe Cup, historically the biggest recurring tournament in the English-speaking side of the Monster Rancher community. And this year we're playing with the More Monsters mod, so you get to see a ton of monsters that never existed previously, like this Gel Durahan that I made. This build is going to be terrible, but it's going to be fun. And of course you'll also be able to see Metalner in all his unbanned glory. Everything goes in this tournament. I don't know what's going to happen. Metalner's probably going to win, but, you know, there's some other really broken stuff this year too. Thanks to the Patreon and YouTube membership supporters and everybody on Twitch for helping make this and all the other bullshit Metalner videos possible. If you want access to the rotoscope footage and stuff like that, I'm putting it up on Patreon. On YouTube members, I'll figure out how to get it to you as well. Now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do next year.